Hey everybody, hope you're doing great today. This is Paul from This Way to the Aquarium. Today I want to talk about an issue I've been having with this tank over here. Nothing really affecting the tank, it's more in terms of the filtration. So in another video I did talk about this heater that I have in this tank over here that needs quite a bit of water flow in order to heat the entire tank. So previously I just had 2 sponge filters in this tank. So what I decided to do is pull one of the sponge filters out and put in a power filter in order to get that water flow going across the heater to make sure the entire tank is heated thoroughly. So with this heater, if there's not enough flow, it turns on, it heats the tank, but it stays cool because it's got a low flow sensor in there. So unless there's enough flow there pushing the water around the heater, making sure everything gets equally warm, it stays about 3 to 4 degrees cooler. Not that big of a deal, but since these are tropical fish, I try and keep my temperature around 77 degrees. And with that, I decided to go and install a power filter in there just on one side, keep the sponge filter, bubble sponge filter on the other side, and those are what is used to create flow in the tank as well as filter the tank. So the sponge filter has been in there for a number of months. The tank has been up and running for a number of months before I put any fish in there. There are currently some fish in there right now. I plan on adding some more in the future, but for now, until I get this stable, this worked out, I'm going to hold off. Going to let these fish mature as well, get a little larger before I bring in the other fish. So once I pulled that sponge filter, I did purchase a cheap power filter off of Amazon, basically a $20 internal filter. So with that being cheap, I advocate for being cost effective with this hobby. As we know, it can get very expensive, but in the case of this filter, it ended up working against me. So at $20, yes, it's cheap, but it didn't do what I needed because eventually the motor in there slowed down and didn't push enough water in there to keep the temperature up and running based on this heater that I have in there. So it worked well for a couple of months, but I think something got into the motor, clogged it up in the impeller part over there. And the one problem with it is that you cannot take the impeller out of the motor housing as you can do typically with most filters to help clean it. So this is the filter that I originally had in there, the powered filter. So the only way it opens up is you've got the filter unit right here that you can pull off, and then it also separates from this part here. This is where you add the sponge filter into it. So I did add the little extra sponge media in there. So this is where the motor housing is, and there's no way to open this up or pull this off so that I could get the impeller out of there. And basically I'm thinking that there's some sand or some other debris that got caught in there and slowed the motor down. So I did end up pulling it out of the tank, and right now I've got a temporary power head in there. We'll go take a look at it here in a second. We'll see how noisy that power head is too. So that power head does need a little bit of maintenance as well too. But since it's a short-term thing, I decided, okay, the power head, it does put out a lot of water, a lot of flow, not something I need. So I did end up purchasing another filter. Again, I tried to do cheap, but in this case, it wasn't a no-name brand like this one here. I purchased a Fluval internal power filter that it's cheap because it was basically an open box. Looking at the package, it looks like pretty much everything was in there. Somebody pulled it out, didn't even unwrap the cord. Not sure what they did with it. They didn't use it. I plugged it in, I tested it out, it worked fine. So I'm gonna pop that in that tank over there in a bit. So this is the filter I bought. This is a Fluval U1 filter. It's got actually multiple ways to open up, get access to it. So there's a sponge filter. You can pop it into the top over here. So for this, I'm not as concerned with the filter media. It definitely will provide some extra filtration, but I've already got an existing sponge filter in there. So the nice thing about this is you can pull the housing off and pull the impeller out. So as you can see, here's this space here is the magnet, here's the impeller, and so it just pops right in here. And by pulling it out, you can actually rinse out in there, you can clean this out. So yes, if something does get caught in there, you get some debris in there, it slows it down. It's easy to pull this housing off, pop it back in, put it in there. So I'm thinking that's the problem that happened with the other motor, but unfortunately I can't get access to the impeller in there, so it makes it difficult to do. So I did wash the motor, run it under water, but right now it's not working. I might take it outside one day and just jet some water with my garden hose and see if that works, but it's not going to be used for this tank anymore. I'm going to use this Fluval U1 internal power filter. So the reason I went with the Fluval U1 internal power filter is because actually I've got a Fluval U4 in my 55-gallon tank upstairs. So that's also a tank with dual filtration. It's got a large internal filter as well as a separate sponge filter. So that filter works great. Never had any issues with it. Periodically maintain it, just pull out the sponges, squeeze them out, pop it back in. Never had to deal with the impeller, never had any impeller motor issues. So Fluval is a trusted brand. That's the reason why I bought this, to supplement my tank over here and make sure everything is flowing smoothly, and that way the heater can work in its optimum condition with proper water flow. So let's go take a look at the tank. I'll show you where the power head is. You'll be able to hear that it's a little noisy right now. I think it needs some maintenance as well too. Same type of thing, probably need to pull the impeller out. There might be some debris stuck in there. Working, but it is making a little bit more noise than I would like. So here's the power head I have right now. You can hear it's a little bit noisy, making a humming noise, especially if I open it up here. Clearly making some noise. So I'm going to pull that one out and then swap it out with this Fluval U1 here. Should quiet down here once I unplug it. As you can hear, quite a bit less noise once it's unplugged. Low enough so it blows across my heater over here. Should be good right there. Definitely much quieter. A decent flow. True test though will be it keeps the heat up, keeps the water circulating so the heater works properly. So everything's definitely much quieter with this filter installed. I'll come back and check a couple hours just to make sure that it's flowing properly. I'm seeing a notice on the heater that it's complaining about low flow, so I might need to adjust it a little more. And it did come with a directional adapter that you could pop onto the nozzle over there, help with the flow. So if the flow is going to still be showing low, I'll pop that adapter on. That might help too. So typically this Fluval filter, this internal filter, if you bought it brand new, would be $40. So as I mentioned, I got it open box. It was an Amazon return. Pretty much everything working out of the box. Everything looked great in the box. Plugged it in, things are working fine, not noticing any issues, and the flow appears to be working well. I do recommend being economical with this hobby, meaning not spending a whole lot of money when you don't have to. Sometimes getting the cheap thing can turn out to bite you. In the case of this other power filter that was in there that started causing me issues, after a couple months started going bad. Definitely outside of the return period, so it's something that I'm going to keep, figure it out, see what I could do with it. I might be able to use it for something else in one of my other aquariums, but we'll deal with that some other day. So for now, this seems to be working great. Temperature is staying fine, so hopefully I don't have any further issues with this tank. As I mentioned, once these fish mature a little, get a little bigger, I'll add some more fish in there, and we'll talk about that in the future as well too. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.